Hi everyone, it's Rabbi Oliver here. My weekly reflection on the Parsha in our Parsha class this week, always on Wednesday at 7:30, which you're very welcome to come to. We discussed just a few verses in Exodus 21, Parshat Mishpatim. Ki tikne eved ivri shesh shanim ya'avod uveshiv'it yatzeh lechovshi chinam. When somebody acquires a Hebrew slave in the they shall work for 6 years, and in the seventh they shall leave for free. At first glance, it's a kind of odd laws to find in this week's parasha, and to the modern sensibility, we ask, why are we talking about slavery here? The answer for the rabbis, in a poetic sense, is that we just left Egypt from the slavery and servitude of bondage. And here we want to ensure in the Israelite community, in the Jewish community, that if there is to be slavery again, it's going to be done in a context which is humane. We know from the Egyptian slavery that Pharaoh's rule over the Israelite slaves was arbitrary. That they worked beferach in desperate servitude, in tough servitude, and that Pharaoh changed the terms. He wanted them to make bricks, and then he wanted to make bricks, but also find the material to make the bricks. And we know from our own experience in history, and also from the many other instances of slavery and forced labor that we have across history, that one of the terrifying and terrible aspects of slavery is that arbitrary nature of the employment in which you find yourself. It's not employment; it's arbitrary rule and backbreaking work. So even if there is to exist in the Jewish community in the land of Israel slavery in ancient times, we're talking about only in ancient times, it will be qualified and limited so that in the seventh year, the slave will go free. There's different opinions about where this comes from. It's possible that this is somebody who's stolen and has to make recompense to the person who's stolen from, and not having money, that he will work, or that person will work until that debt is repaid. Also, possibly somebody who's in poverty already gets into debt and sells themselves in slavery in order to repay that debt. Probably a way of ensuring that somebody does not remain in excruciating poverty for too long. Then the text flips, and it presents this slightly odd image of, if this person then wants to stay in slavery, that this act is done upon them, which is that their ear is pierced with an awl, which is just a kind of a sharp instrument, and they say, "I love my master, ahavti et Adoni," and they will then be avadim le'olam. They'll be slaves in perpetuity, forever. At this point, the image then switches. Okay, so at this point in the Parsha, the image switches, and it becomes an image in the Hasidic world, in the more spiritualistic arms of Judaism, of what rededication looks like. We're all born avadim, slaves, but in this context, we're Ovdei Hashem. We're the workers for God. We as a community, we imagine ourselves as in service of Borei Olam, the creator of the universe. And sometimes we have to rededicate ourselves to that journey of being in service to something greater than us. And so the image becomes one of total rededication, from the possibility that we might go free and choose a different life or a different journey or a different path. The possibility is to dedicate ourselves and say, no, we love this work, we love this master, and then we will rededicate ourselves again. I guess in this week's parasha, we're given options. We're given options not to squirm away from the presentation of slavery in this parasha and say, this doesn't concern us anymore. this question of slavery isn't existent in the modern world. The question of slavery is exactly existent in the modern world. There are plenty of people not earning a fair wage, working as if slaves, working under pressure and in forced circumstance, which makes their work like slavery. There are plenty of people in this world, women and also children, who are being trafficked, forced into work, both in the sex economy and elsewhere. There are plenty of instances in the UK, here, under our very noses, in Uyghur China, in Israel, in many other places in the world where forced labor is still part of our everyday story. And our role in this week's Parsha and in this week is to look at it head on and say, how can we be part of the story to change this around, to make sure more people experience the emancipation that we read about when the Jews leave the crushing labor of Egypt. The second bit is that we can also be rededicated in our religious journeys, that the image of saying, Ahavti et Adoni, I love my master and I want to stay in this work, is a rededication to a life, a difficult life of service, both to community, to people, to society, and ultimately to God. I wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom, a sweet and good Shabbat, and look forward to learning again next week, Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Be there with us. Love to everyone. Bye.